Now, our final toolkit for today will be shared by Nicki McLeod. Now, Nicki is a certified talent optimization leader and a master certified PI trainer. She spent over 2 decades with people, helping them uncover their strengths and align individuals, teams, and organizations for success. Nicki is driven by her passion to equip people and to foster strong leadership in them. With over 20 years of experience developing impactful content, Nicki has a proven track record for creating environments that inspire growth and inspire development. She co-authored her very first leadership book, Leading to the One, in 2023, and currently serves as the president of Into Great. Nicki and her husband of 30 years enjoy outdoor activities, and they enjoy spending quality time with their children. In fact, their weekly Friday dinners are a cherished tradition, bringing everybody together around the table for connection and conversation. I was just talking to Nicki backstage, and I asked this question. I said, you've got 3 adult children. How in the world do you get them around your table every single Friday? And she said, bribery. I'm just kidding. She didn't say that. She said they make great bread, they have a good time, and they established the tradition early, so their kids love to come together. So she walks the talk when it comes to leading the next generation and leading companies. Please help me welcome to the Symposium stage for the first time, Miss Nicki McLeod.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be a part of this event today. I just have to say before I get started here that I know everybody's saying this, but I love Provia. I have the privilege of working with over 100 companies, and I'm not supposed to have a favorite. I am sure of that. But Provia is probably my favorite organization. You just can't beat the people and the culture. So I'm really honored to be here with you today. Now today, I want to talk to you for a little bit and give you some really practical tools on one thing that leaders can do to impact performance, productivity, and profitability in their organizations. Now, here's something that I have to tell you about this before I get started. One thing seems really simple, and it is. The problem is simple doesn't always equal easy. So I want to just give you a fair warning that I am going to present something simple, but not necessarily easy. So to dig into this, I should tell you that our company has decided that we are going to focus on helping organizations uncover the hidden drain that we believe exists in their organizations. And to set that up, I'm going to show you a profit and loss statement on the screen. Now, many of you are familiar with a profit and loss statement. As a matter of fact, I remember in the mid-90s, my very first leadership job at Tractor Supply Company. I'm quite sure I have TSC fans in the audience today. My leadership training was all about a profit and loss statement. They said, here you go, make it go up by 10%, this bottom number, and we'll see you in a month. And I'm only exaggerating a little bit. And so most people are familiar with the importance of a profit and loss statement in an organization. But here's a question that we ask every leader that we engage with. We say, do you have a line item on your P&L statement to measure what we call unused human capacity? And if there's any CFOs in the audience, you know that the answer is absolutely not. It's not a part of our accounting practices. But the next question is really important. Does unused human capacity exist in your organization, and does it cost? And the answer is always yes, every single group of leaders that we talk to. And it exists for multiple reasons, but a few that I'll call out this morning are underdeveloped leaders at every level in an organization. Leaders can account for up to 70% of engagement in an organization. Another reason that it exists is organizational confusion. You've heard a little bit about communication this morning, and there's some research that suggests that communication can cost anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000 per employee per a year in organization. So this topic of unused human capacity is pretty significant, okay? And one way you can think about this is if you're a manufacturing company and you had a machine in your organization that was functioning at 50%, but you knew it had the capacity to function at 85%, you would certainly go and work on that machine and take the time and invest in it to get it to 85% because you would know how much impact that would have in your organization as it relates to performance and productivity and profitability. And so our premise is, why aren't humans the same way? Now, I am not suggesting that humans are machines and we can take a wrench to them. However, I know that a lot of you think that would make it a lot easier, and it's probably true sometimes. So I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting we can just wring every last little bit out of humans. That's not what I'm talking about today. But what I am suggesting is that if you have humans operating at 5%, when they have the ability and the desire to operate at 80%, it is having an impact in your organization. Not only, we've established that it's having an impact on your bottom line, it's not only having an impact there, it's having an impact on their personal fulfillment as a human. It's having an impact on your culture. It's actually having an impact on you as a leader. I had a CEO once say, you know, we're talking about all this unused human capacity, and he said, I actually think I have some unused human capacity within myself. So the one thing that leaders can do to impact performance, productivity, and profitability, and dare I say, culture, well-being, and fulfillment in their organization is to learn how to access this unused human capacity. Now this morning, Dan set this up really well with his story about his second grade teacher, because it's that simple. A leader has this distinct ability and, dare I say, responsibility to help people understand that there's probably more within them. See, those second graders didn't think they could learn all of those presidents, but the teacher, or we're going to call her a coach right now, the coach said, yes, you can. You can do this. That's how leaders begin to access this thing we call unused human capacity. If we were to survey you, all of you in this room today, I'm going to guess that most of you would say, you know, I probably do have more to give, and I'm not talking about time. Nobody has that these days. I'm talking about gifts and talents and abilities. And engagement happens, and really fulfillment happens when people's roles are aligned to these things in the organization. So this is the one thing that we can do, is access that unused human capacity. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how do we do this and give you some really practical tools. What we say is how to do this is build better leaders who create, at all levels in your organization, by the way, every single level. Think about that for a moment. Most leaders are promoted because they did a really, really good job. And then we struggle to build new skills and expand their capacity into leadership skills. But if we build better leaders at all levels who create cultures of clarity by engaging and developing their employees in effective one-on-one interactions, this is how we're going to impact that performance, productivity, and profitability. I don't have time to go through all of this today, so I'm going to focus in on one of the most practical things you can take away, and that is the effective one-on-one interactions. You might be saying in this moment, I do one-on-ones. I meet one-on-one with the people around me. I think the key word here this morning is going to be effective. So what you see on the screen is a model that we like to use. We call it leading to the one. And in the middle of this circle, I'll just draw your attention to that. You see a L-21. That L-21 stands for leading to the one. And that is defined by the definition that you see on the screen. It's the recognition when leaders recognize that each person is unique. And each supervisor and employee relationship is different. This requires the leader to lead each person individually. And here's how we like to give an example of this. Who in this room has multiple children? You know that I have 3 adult children. Anybody else have multiple children? Okay, so you had your first child, right? And you said, okay, they were the practice kid. I got it down now. Child number 2, I know exactly what to do. Is that what happened? No, because child number 2 was different than child number 1, and then child number 3 was different than the other 2. There was no way to parent them all the same way. We have to treat leadership exactly the same way. This is where it starts to get a little bit challenging. But I'm going to give you 3 keys today how to have those effective one-on-ones that we call L21s. The first key is going to be formal and informal. I'm going to have you think about one-on-one interactions very different. The second key is that you're going to have 3 conversations in these one-on-one interactions. And the third key is that you are going to create tremendous clarity in those one-on-one interactions. So key number 1, formal and informal. When you hear one-on-one meetings, many times we go to something like a performance evaluation. That's fine, but that's very formal and it doesn't happen very often. Back in the 90s, when I started in this thing called leadership, we got annual reviews, and maybe some of you still do that. That's okay. I want to challenge your thinking a little bit. But the only reason I looked forward to an annual review is that somebody would tell me, hey, you're doing a good job, and I'm going to give you a raise. And that's really all my expectation was. I promise you the workplace has changed, and I think it's for the better. One-on-ones that are formal and informal don't look like sit-down annual reviews, okay? They can be 10-minute interactions. The key is that they're always intentional. I had a CEO tell me once he's very transactional in nature. So he said, when I'm going down the hallway and I see that one person coming toward me, I usually take a left turn because I just don't have time. What we got him to realize is that it probably is only going to take 5 minutes for you to intentionally take advantage of that informal moment and engage with that person on a deeper level. So he wrote, I have 5 minutes on a sticky note and put it on his clock to remind himself of the importance of those informal interactions. So we've got formal and informal. They should be consistent. And there are some studies that suggest people want that type of interaction at least every 2 weeks. So think about that for a moment. The next thing I want to tell you is the 3 types of conversations that you're going to have. You probably already have transactional conversations, so I won't talk about that very much, but it's things like key performance indicators. You're talking about the work all the time. But what about relational and developmental? Those conversations belong in the workplace, and let's make it really simple. Finding out what's important to the other person one-on-one and sharing what's important to you. And when it comes to developmental, it's really hard to create a developmental environment for the people that you lead if you don't understand them, if you don't take the time to engage with them. And it's important to do that because if not, we try to develop people into us or who we need them to be versus who they really are. So you've got informal and formal, and you've got 3 types of conversations you're going to have in these one-on-ones. Lastly, the last key to this is that in your one-on-ones, you are going to focus on creating tremendous clarity. Now, you're going to notice outside of this L21, there's 3 circles. And those circles have everything to do with gaining deeper levels of awareness, establishing mutual expectations, and giving and receiving developmental feedback. And what happens is that L21, that one-on-one, acts as a magnet, brings those 3 circles together and creates clarity. Clarity is what we need in organizations. And this, in the environment where we create clarity, is in those effective one-on-one interactions. There's some important things to know about these 3 words that are familiar to all of you. The first one is awareness has to do with self, others, and situations. There was a study on self-awareness a while back by a gal by the name of Dr. Tasha Eurich. She studied 5,000 participants over 5 years, and she set out to discover how self-aware are people. And here's what she found out. I'll give you the bottom line. 95% of people think they possess high levels of self-awareness. Only about 15% actually do. So 85% of us walk around lying to ourselves every single day. Sound right? Sounds about right to me. I'm in that camp, right? So we always have room to grow as leaders when it comes to awareness. I recommend behavioral analytics. We use behavioral analytics. They can be very powerful and foundational for creating awareness. When it comes to expectations, think about this for a moment. The greatest source of frustration is an unmet expectation. You maybe even experienced that today, a frustration that was due to an unmet expectation. Earlier, you heard that phrase, communication is respect. Well, it's so true. When we learn how to clearly communicate expectations and have a mutual agreement, it has a great impact on this thing we call clarity. Lastly, we have developmental feedback. And I want you to remember this statement. You just heard about feedback. Feedback is the oxygen to engagement and development. People deserve to know where they stand. And developmental feedback always has the concern for the well-being and the development of the other individual at the heart of it all. Okay? So to end this, I'm going to leave you with a quote from a gentleman by the name of Erwin McManus, who I think may have spoken at one of these symposiums in the past. I could be mistaken. But we love this quote. It says, "We've turned leadership into a domain of knowledge without ever paying attention to what it means to be human. If you are a leader, your expertise should not be in leadership. It should just be in humanity." And so there's a QR code. If your internet is not working very well in here, just take a picture of the screen and come back to it. I've got some free resources in there for you, including something called a Leadership Clarity Index. It'll give you a clarity score. I think you'll enjoy it. Would love for you to take advantage of that. And I'm going to leave you with this question. What impact could effective one-on-one engagements have on your organization, particularly in learning how to access unused human capacity? Thank you very much. Thank you.